So, who do I have with me?
You have Anna Rivera.
Anna Rivera. And so you were born in, I'm going to assume,
Puerto Rico.
Puerto, how do I?
Puerto.
Puerto.
Rico.
Puerto.
Like port, but with a U. Puerto.
Puerto.
Exactly.
Puerto.
Rico.
Rico.
Like delicious.
Puerto Rico.
That's right.
I took Spanish 3 years and could not pass.
You can roll the R's.
I didn't study. It was required to graduate college. You had to have a foreign language. I ended up passing sign language. That's the only reason I got my degree.
I took Spanish because I knew I was going to pass it.
Yeah, that's right.
My friends in school, I went to a high school in New York, High School of Art and Design. It's similar to Harrison here.
When did you leave Puerto Rico and go to New York?
My father had just returned from the Korean War. He was in the 65th Infantry, Los Borinqueniers. That was the name of their infantry. And he decided to move his family when I was 6 months old to New York City, the Bronx, the boogie down Bronx.
So you don't even remember
when I got there, yeah. And so I was there till I was about 4, when unfortunately my parents decided to divorce. My mom said, instead of having me in this transition of craziness between two young adults, she said, I'm sending you with my grandmother. So I lived with my great-grandmother and great-grandfather for about 1.5 years. I went to school there, first grade, and I knew English because my babysitter in New York, so the kids would, they would like get upset, and then they would say, we're gonna teach you a song today, children, and I would say, gallina, chicken,
Were you at an advantage or disadvantage?
I was at an advantage, but at some point I was at a disadvantage because my mother's great aunt was the principal of the school, and her other great aunt was the superintendent of schools in that area. So everybody hated my guts. They hated my guts.
You were on the inside.
And they were like, oh, nothing's ever going to happen to her, blah, 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 blah. And so I came back and started first grade in the Bronx in New York. My mom finally had settled down and everything went right. And I started school at IPS 124 on 160th Street.
PS.
Yeah.
My dad
school.
talked about PSs.
Yeah, public school, that's what they call them. And my mom worked at this beauty salon, and so I was across the street. And I remember one day in particular, we were going off to Thanksgiving long weekend, the Wednesday before you leave.
Nice 4 days.
So the teacher was escorting us. That's when teachers would escort you down the stairs and take you to the lunchroom and sit with you in the lunchroom.
Yeah, I remember 5th grade doing that.
So they would keep an eye on you and stuff like that. So I asked Mrs. McDonald and I still remember her name because she was pregnant, and I always used to sit next to her and touch her belly and tell her.
Neat.
I said, you need love,
and you were what, 10 or 11?
Oh, I was first grade. I mean, that was
6 or
second
7.
grade. That was second grade for me, and she was like, oh, he's so sweet.
We know you're going to be a mother one day.
Stuff like that. So I said, I have to go to pee-pee. Kids don't say like, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to pee-pee. So I go into the bathroom, and there were these 3 black girls, around the same age, maybe 1 year or 2 older than me. And so I went, I did what I had to do, and when I went to wash my hands, one of them says to me, she gets to my face and she says, are you my sister? And I'm like, I'm trying to I'm trying to calculate in my mind, I don't have a sister. No. And I just.
Peer pressure and social.
Yeah, I says no. And there was this girl on the floor behind me, and I didn't know that. And she pushed me, the one who asked me. Tripped me over. They didn't hit me too hard, but they did beat up on me.
Bullying.
And they took my clothes off. they left me in my undershirt and my little crinoline thing, cause I was wearing a uniform. And thank God they left me with my shoes, and I walk out, and my teacher was wondering why was I taking so long when she's coming through the doors, and she sees me crying, she says, "Oh, Jesus Christ," and off to the principal's office, they would go across the street and get my mom, and my mom was like screaming, going hysterical, and I had already stopped crying. I was like just sitting there like looking at everyone, and my mom just like grabbed me like, "Come on," like if it was my fault, but I didn't realize that. To me, at that point, I felt that what she thought was my fault, that I didn't know how to defend myself, whatever. And she takes me to the house, to where we were living in the apartment, and she takes my clothes, and then she puts me with a t-shirt, pair of overalls, takes my long hair, makes it into 2 ponytails, 2 buns. She puts Vaseline all over my face and my and my forearms.
I don't understand the purpose.
That's you'll get there. So, and then she grabs me and she puts sneakers on me, and she puts the socks. She puts them in my pants inside the socks, so I look like a genie pan or something. She grabs me, and it was time for recess. So she takes me to the schoolyard, and the teacher's like, "But Miss," and my mother does in her Spanish or whatever, and then I walk behind, and she's dragging me, and she says, "Who hit you? Who did this to you?" I said, "Those girls over there," and they were jumping double dutch, the girls, and my mother just literally lifted me up from my waist and flung me at all 3 of them, and all of a sudden they started to hit me, and I just started hitting back, and I grabbed one of them, and I was showing that I knew how to fight.
You knew that her intention was to have you go over there and try to...
She told me straight out, she says, "I'm not gonna be around forever for you to learn how to defend yourself. You have to stand up for yourself, no matter how you are, if you're small, skinny, fat, whatever, blind, you need to learn how to defend yourself, because I'm not gonna be here forever." And could you believe that after that fight, 2 of those girls became one of my best friends. We were like a little clique.
They were just as ignorant as you were.
And the mothers were like hysterical. There was a meeting, and one of the girls was taken out of the school and sent to parochial school.
So,
after that,
how did that affect the rest of your life, if you don't mind me asking?
That I should always stand up for myself. That I should not let anyone bully me.
And it worked?
And it has worked. And in the past, and in the present, I've had situations where people get in my face and do things that they should really think twice of what they do. I am responsible for what I do. I'm not responsible for what you do. But you need to take responsibility of what you do.
I agree.
Because if you don't, then guess what? Anita Rivera is gonna make sure that you do. Because people, people say, "Oh, we're so advanced, we're in the 21st century," yet there's this Neanderthal thing still going on as part of our DNA. And people are like, "Oh no, I got a master's in this and a master's in that." I'm like, but how does that help you in the human part of it?
So do you remember the conversation after that, after your mom said did she say you did a good job, I'm proud of you, you did good,
All my mom, when my mom just said, all right, and she separated us and stuff like that.
Oh, she broke it up?
Yeah, she just wanted to see if I knew how to defend myself. So at home, we were, I was watching, it's funny because I was watching the Three Stooges, one of my favorites, black and white. And she goes and turns off the TV, and I just look at her like, what did you just do? You just shut my life,
Sure.
And she says, ¿Qué has aprendido? What did you learn? I thought she was, I'm a kid. I haven't even gotten to being a tween yet, I'm like, that mom is tough? No. That you're my mom? No. That you're not gonna be around forever? Very good. And then she says, I just made us some flan.
There you go.
And I was like, okay.
So that was a major thing in your life.
Oh, I had people always in my face. I don't know if it's, my great-grandmother said it best when she wasn't feeling well. The whole family flew down to Puerto Rico. By that time I was about 9, 10 years old, so I understood a lot more. And she held my hand one morning, cause she knew she was not gonna last long. And she says, people are always gonna be smiling with you. They're always gonna be, you think that they're happy to see you, but they're smiling with the back of their teeth, grinding them down because they're having to swallow you like bad medicine. They can't take your aura. Your aura overpowers theirs. And it's a blessing, but sometimes it isn't. And you need to protect it very well, because people may just be shaking your hand, hugging you, and you don't know the karma, that's negative karma that they're trying to spew.
Their intentions.
Because they have these intentions that they're first, second, and third, that's it, you know. There's a saying in Puerto Rico, yo primero, yo segunda, yo tercera. I'm first, I'm second, and I'm third.
Never heard that.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
Yeah. Or, quítate tú pa ponerme yo. Like, you get out so I can reside there. You know, they're like, yeah, she's the person that I need on my side because she's gonna get me to where she at, and I can push her back. And it's funny because people tell me things like, that's a Spanish thing. I says, no, it's not. That's a human thing. We can't take someone's, how should I say, blessed light. Everybody walks around with a light, and they don't know it. They don't walk around with a light. And that light obviously is your blessing. And I know
it's
that.
either bright or dim.
Yeah. And I know I have that light. I was born on a very holy day. I was born on the day of the Epiphany. For us
wow.
Latinos, it is the day that 3 wise men brought gifts to Jesus Christ.
Oh, wow.
You know, and I am a Catholic, and I believe in that wholeheartedly.
You felt blessed your whole life? That's fantastic.
Whether I've had bad days, the blessing came that I was gonna learn from that. There are people who are not blessed enough to understand. If it's a bad situation, then learn from it. If it's a good situation, learn from it. But some people are like, oh, I've been.
Not everybody has a mom who teaches them young.
Yeah.
They have to learn on their own later.
Oh, I had to do a lot. I mean, after that, graduate from public school, from elementary school, and I had to basically go on my own to my middle school, junior high school. So it was Elmer E. Bogart, that was the name of the school. And I had to take a bus, and it would take me like almost 20 minutes to get to my school. So I had my little bus pass from the MTA and stuff like that. And on my senior year, we took pictures and everything, and I'm in a nice turtleneck and a nice little, my mother bought me this nice little suit with the skirt and some, I still remember it, the clothes I had that day, because it really meant something. They were brown patent leather boots. I was
feeling high.
You know,
top of the world.
It was the 70s, and that was the look, and so I'm sitting with my girlfriends from my class in the local corner pizza shop, just like a block away from the school. And I'm having pizza, and all of a sudden, these girls come in, and I'm gonna take my pizza, and it's in a plate, and this girl flings it, and she says, I understand that you've been looking at my boyfriend. I'm like, I'm only 13. I don't have time for boys right now. I'm trying to get into high school. And
She's just looking for trouble.
She was looking for trouble. But the thing is that her boyfriend was always hanging out with our crowd. So I says, I don't really have time for this because I have to get back to, well, you're gonna do what I say. And then she had these other big chicks standing behind her, and I was like, I says, I don't have time for this. So my girlfriend Inez tells me, you're not gonna let her talk to you like that. And then Delia tells me, you're not gonna let her talk to you like that. I said, yeah, I just finished taking high school pictures. I'm in pantyhose and a mini skirt, and I don't have time for that. So I just get up, and the pizza owner of the pizza shop, he comes by and says, get out of here, no trouble, blah, blah.
Makes sense.
So when I go out, the girls are outside, and there's like a crowd in this corner.
Something's gonna go down.
Something's gonna, and I'm like, and I'm trying to go through the crowd, and they're all blocking me. And there's this guy hanging out, holding onto the light post on the gray banner part of the square part where it holds the post, and he said, and in this corner, and I'm like, these are a bunch of kids that are like 12 to 13 years old.
But you're all dolled up, ready to.
I had just taken junior high school pictures for, the graduation. I'm like, oh Jesus. So she comes at me to grab my blazer, and I push her back like that, and I just take it and I fling it to my friend Inez. And when she came at me, I grabbed her hair through here. And this hurts more than here. And I pulled her down and I kicked her in the chin. Unfortunately, she fell on the floor and she started foaming at the mouth. It so happens that she was a heroin addict. And she did not get up, and people were like, oh, you killed her. And I said, so I turned her over, and she was like, and we were like trying to get her, and so some guy comes over with a big cup of water and flings it at her, and she starts choking, and they took her to the school nursery, and the principal looked at me and says, Annie, you got like a month to graduate. I said, she did this, and this. And then he said,
You're entitled to defend yourself.
I said, she had, and she did, she had a small little knife, pocket knife. And one of her girls had, she says, I got your knife right here, and that's where I had to really get, so I was like, okay, so here I have to go again. I was like, and then of course my mother came down to the school, and she looks at me and she says, 6 years ago, you do the same thing. Meaning I was in school. And she said, the first thing my mom did was to look at my face to see if I had gotten cut, because they told her that one of the students had a weapon. And
fortunately,
yeah,
you weren't.
I wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't even get a run in my pantyhose. That was the funny part. And then she just
and those things, you just touch them. A little nail touches it, and they run like crazy.
Yeah, and then after that, no one would get near me. They would say, don't mess around with her.
They started to respect you?
Yeah, I says, I was like, I was the type of student also that when I was waiting for the bus to come, and sometimes the kids that were in 7th grade, and they would be getting on the bus, the older kids would run and grab their bus pass. I couldn't, that really would drive me nuts. And I said, you give her that back. You give that back to them. Oh, it's not yours. Does your name say Sanchez after it?
You started defending your friends and.
Total strangers. Total strangers.
Of course, yeah.
I said, Jesus Christ, they need my mother. That's all I kept on saying. They need a mother like my mom.
I agree.
But, and after that, I celebrated that I had been accepted. It was so funny because my teacher, Mr. Blitzstein, he says, Annie, I don't know how the hell you pulled this off, but you got accepted to High School of Performing Arts, High School of Music and Arts, High School of Art and Design, and this one is kind of weird. High School of Bronx Science. How did your math get? I don't know how the hell you did it. And I said, could be the essay that I presented. I don't know. My grades were good. It doesn't mean that they were bad. I mean, yeah, but science and math, you were like just scratching the surface.
Are you gifted where the information comes to you easy and you don't have to study, kind of like that, or did you really study and work hard?
I'd be honest with you. I just like looked at it. I said,
you were gifted.
I said, okay, this is multiple choice. There's one of those is the answer. That's how I would see it. That's how I would see it.
And you got good grades.
And I had good grades.
Then you're gifted.
So
I graduated high school with a 1.6 GPA.
Oh, no.
I struggled all the time.
I never went past the 3-point. I mean,
Jeez,
my girlfriends were like the whizzes. They were like, the 4.5, this whole thing, whatever. So when I got the letter for accepted to all of those, I wanted to go to High School of Art and Design. I wanted to be near Midtown Manhattan. I just loved.
Is that what you
area.
wrote the paragraph on? Was that school?
Yeah.
The essay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said, I want to be there because this school had a huge mixture of students. I said, I want to meet people from other walks of life that I don't see in my neighborhood. And so in High School of Art and Design, you saw people who were from Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, Puerto Rican, Dominican, African American, Jewish.
You were paying attention enough to know that that was going to be a better school for yourself.
Yeah, and I loved it.
You did?
Oh my God.
And you graduated?
Graduated, and then from there I had gotten a scholarship to go to Trap-Hagen School of Fashion.
Where's that at?
That used to be on Park Avenue South. It was a private school
In New York?
in New York City.
Wow.
I had originally enrolled into Parsons, but in those days, they used to call it the BOG. These days, they call it the Pell Grant. One semester took all of my money. And I was like, okay, I can't deal with this. I'm gonna have to go to Trap-Hagen. And I wanted to go to Parsons because my friends were in Parsons.
So was when you were in high school and you were in the school, what dreams did you have to be a fashion designer? What were your dreams, if you don't mind me?
I wanted to be a costume designer. I was a Bob Mackie and Edith Head fan. Watched every single film that.
You got to help me with that. Those are actors?
No, those are costumers, costume designers. Edith Head was in her heyday, the Hollywood queen of designing costumes for films.
Okay.
And I would watch I would watch PBS, Channel 13 in New York, and I would watch movies with Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Clark Gable, all of these, Colin Powell, all of these musicals. And you see me with my sketchbook, just sketching down their ideas and how I would change it around and stuff like that. And then Bob Mackie would do all the costumes for Cher's show.
Oh, wow.
So I would be doing all of these things, and my presentation for that scholarship for Trap-Hagen School of Fashion was to design whatever I felt like. And since I love the history of costume, my whole portfolio was taking ideas from every piece of history. So anything that was Renaissance, anything that was mod, anything that was from the
Art
Roaring
Deco.
20s, everything. I love the Gibson era.
When is that?
That was between the early 1900s. It's a Gibson lady where they would wear their hair up like this and high collar.
Do they wear big dresses?
They were like tight.
Yeah. What's that thing that girls have under their dress?
Crinolines. They look like lampshades.
Yeah.
And they have a bustle.
Is there another word?
I forgot the name of it, but I would use those inspirations into my work. And when I did my portfolio for my senior class, which was AP, and I had to make sure that I brought those ideas into the modern age. And what did I take away from there? And when I started at Trap-Hagen, and I walked through the hallways the very first day, all of my submissions were on the wall.
Oh wow! What imagine that would
I was like, oh wow! And my mom was like, "This is very expensive here." I says, "Mom, a scholarship means they're paying for everything. It pays everything. I just need to have a part-time job so I can pay for taking the train down here, etc., and for my lunches and stuff." But then I took a job in the art store of the school, so I can have some extra money.
So did you finish the art school?
Yeah, and it's funny. This is the other funny thing how I did this. My mom was like, I told my mom, I need to get a job. I'm gonna take a break. No, you can't. No, you have to grab it, Mom. And mind you, originally my mom wanted me to go to a higher school that taught me cosmetology, trades and stuff. I said, no, I'm going downtown, and this is what I want to do, etc., etc., etc. And I see this on the bulletin, and I go to the head of the school, Mrs. Wadowka, and I says, I would like to apply for that internship with Bloomingdale's. But Anna, you're not in the fashion merchandising department, you're in the design department. And she says, but how are you gonna do that if you have classes? I says, I can do all of my work at home and come and drop it off every week. We've never done this, but I'm your scholarship recipient from the Bronx.
I have ambition, you understand, right?
You know, I just told her, I am from the Bronx. A lot of the students here come already with a silver spoon.
They were privileged. You're working your way up.
I said, I need to know, I need to think outside the box. You're always telling us that. And I didn't even know what the term meant anyway, so she says, okay, let's set up an appointment for you to go and stuff like that, and let's see how we can talk with the teachers, how you're gonna handle your work, blah, 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 blah. So I did a 6-month internship with Bloomingdale's to learn about merchandising and buying and negotiating with vendors and stuff. Most of the time I spent was making all the purchase orders for the buyers and stuff, but I was seeing how they would negotiate, how would they do this, how would they do that, blah, 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 blah. And then I learned about private labeling. That's what I was curious about. I says, are we, cause I would see them buy very expensive outfits, and then you see them measuring and making, I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, we have a private label program in all of our departments, and what we want is to get a better gross profit for the company.
Just put a different label on the same pair of pants.
You know, it's the pants, we have manufacturers that work with us, some of them also work with these top labels as well. And I'm like, oh, so you need to tell me you can get an Armani suit, and then you're gonna make it on your fabric, with your manufacturer, with your, so how much, and then it was connecting in my mind. I said, so how much do you markup do you get on the Armani suit versus the private label? Armani suit, we are getting like a 30-35% markup, but with our private labeling, we're getting over 60 to 65%.
The backside of business.
It's just that you're making money within the, ooh, that's good. Then of course they would teach me other things like, you know, understand about profit sharing, why we have to do this, cause it will help you, da 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 da.
So you ended up, did you have a career? Did you, after that?
I graduated, and then, my first job was as a screen print designer for a t-shirt company that would sell to Sears, JCPenney, and Lerner shops. I don't know if people know.
I remember, yes,
Okay,
but some may not nowadays.
So I was the assistant designer to this woman that was there already, and it was run by Jack and Milton Kukoff, and this was on 13th Street on the west side of the village. And my first job was $138.65 a week.
138 for 40 hours?
Yeah.
Wow.
I thought it was the coolest thing, because I was only making sometimes part-time, so $50 or something. And they had the studio on the second level, and then they had the factory downstairs. And they introduced me to the factory manager there, and his name was Moises, but Milton Kukoff would call him Moish in Yiddish. So I learned Yiddish while I was working for these people. And one day, they hired this kid, Irish kid, I forget his name, but he always used to come drunk every Thursday night, because he would go to parties, and he was a young, guy. I was 19, 20 years old. He was like 24, 25, and he'd come and says, and he was always shaking his hair, like, oh my God, I have to go to learning shops, I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And I says, what's the problem? They want the same thing we do for juniors and misses. They want it in 7 to 14 and 46X. We don't do kid sizes. And I just, I said,
Sure.
So I said, let's go to Louis. Louis was the top pattern maker for the company. He would do the pattern making, the samples, and the production. I even learned how to get on cutting tables and use the saw to cut.
Oh, yeah.
I learned how to do all that stuff. And I says, Louis, he has this issue. And he says, so what is it? So he whips out his pad and he starts to write. And he says, Annie, you know what you're gonna do? I said, no. You're gonna go down the street, there's a notion store, sewing store, and they have patterns there. Go get yourself some t-shirt patterns from McCall's or whatever the hell they have, some Tricely, and we'll take it from there. Get every single size.
I remember, I don't even know if they still have them, but I
All
think
in
my mom
paper,
used to go,
pull 'em
yeah,
out.
the paper, and you'd
Yep.
open it up. My mom did that, yeah.
So I went, he gave me money, I went, I brought everything from, 4 to 6X, so 7 to 14 for the little girls. And, I says, I also bought boys just in case. He says, good idea. So he just took the hard cardboard stuff and he just started tracing all the patterns and everything. And he says, okay, go back to your art desk and you start designing stuff or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So during that time, obviously it was the 80s had started. And so I started doing things that resemble Madonna stuff, culture club stuff, so on the t-shirts, splashing that kind of stuff. And then, so we did that, and we did like a little version for for the little girls, and got the samples done, cured the fronts because they were hand painted to put them in the conveyor belt and stuff like that. And then I put them real nice. And
So how long a career did you have?
well,
Or you still have it?
well, from that job, the the Sears buyer went to this company and said, I know of a young one, because they were looking for a designer. Their designer resigned because she was gonna have triplets.
Oh my.
That's a lot of belly. So they started doing, Milton Kukoff and company were doing well, but then I went on an interview with this other company called Adobe Originals. And they said, we need a designer, we have a head designer, but she's leaving, and then there's another one in different size ranges, but we need someone like yourself that's 4 to 6X, 7 to 14. And so I said, okay, let me sketch up some things, and walked down with my little portfolio, my black portfolio, and they said, when can you start? I said, well, I need to be nice enough and give these people 2 weeks, They said, okay, well, let's show you your office. I said, right out, I said, what's the salary? You're giving me a tour, but we haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, starting salary is $35,000. And I'm in my, just looking at them.
That was pretty good back then, right?
Oh yeah, and I'm calculating in my mind, and like, I just doubled my salary. Okay, all right. So
That's kind of
I
nice.
went and I started with them, and everything was going well until one day they said, we're going into the license business. I don't have a car.
Cheaper labor.
I said license business, I don't have a car. I wasn't understanding the process when they were
Sure.
saying that. And it was that they had acquired Rainbow Bright license, Gem, and the Mary Lou Retton sports line.
Mary Lou Retton,
The gymnast.
the gymnast, yeah.
And so I had to do presentations for my size range in all of those 3 products. And I got to meet Mary Lou Retton.
Oh, you did?
She came to our showroom and we presented to her. We got little girls to model the outfits that I had designed.
Because she's a tiny little thing,
And
something.
she was like, these are so cool. I designed the label with the art department and everything. We went to Monsanto to get the, I don't think they're still in business anymore. And it was a fabric company, and we got that done, the fabrics that we wanted, and a lot of color blocking was happening in that time, so I used all those. So my boss at that time was Steve Schnitzer. He came over to me and he says, no, it was Paul Lane, sorry. And he says, we're gonna have to give this kid something else because she's gonna take off. Someone's gonna steal her from us and blah, 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 blah. So I got bumped up another salary and I was given an assistant. But I was constantly working in the children's wear industry in Manhattan. And then came 1986 and I decided to move to Puerto Rico. I wanted to, I had
You wanted to experience.
I want to experience, but I had been thinking about it for a while, but then I fell in love and I went to Puerto Rico and I started working for a mom and pop retail chain as buyer for them. So I still was able to travel from Puerto Rico to New York and go to these showrooms and purchase merchandise, the same thing that I was doing as an intern for Bloomingdale's.
How long were you in Puerto Rico?
10 years.
10
I had
years.
my son there.
Okay.
And then, so I started with New York department stores. It was owned by a Cuban, Spanish, Jewish family, the Kaufmans, Alberto Kaufman and Leonor Kaufman. And they had a chain of 16 stores throughout the whole island. So I would have to buy, I told them we need to divide the stores by A, B, and C because you can't, this stores in this town and the income that
You started solving problems.
So they were liking that. I said, we can still, I said, and we also need to have a way of how the traffic flows. I mean, you have clearance merchandise mixed in with regular merchandise just because you're having a Mother's Day shopper, you wanna get rid of the clearance stuff. You can always put on the shopper, you remember those that people would get those in the mail and
Sure.
and I said, you can put that in the back page and says, don't forget about our clearance area, and that's it, you know, whatever. So we changed the stores, unbelievable. So I was with them for 3 years, and then a friend of mine that used to buy from me in Dobie in New York, Ralph Fideli, worked for JCPenney in Texas, in the home offices. And he says, he asked my ex-boss, where's Annie? And he says, she's in Puerto Rico, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to Puerto Rico because we're spiffing up our JCPenney stores on the island. He said, well, this is her number. She called us and sent us a postcard, this whole thing. So I get a call and I'm like,
An offer to go to Texas?
well, they sent me to Texas to train, but I started working for JCPenney then. I left New York department stores, unfortunately. I had a lot of leeway with them, but JCPenney, they said, we need you to help us purchase and merchandise our custom jewelry and fine jewelry department stores. I said, what the heck do I know about fine jewelry, except that it's expensive, you know? And he says, you'll go through training. Custom jewelry is all about fashion, and you know about that. I'm like,
Good point.
I said, okay, so what are we talking about salary-wise? He says, well, it's not gonna be as what you're probably making right now, but we will give you immediate,
Benefits.
and these benefits immediately. It's not, you don't have to have that 30-day or 60-day wait, and you'll be in profit sharing, or you're in profit sharing right now with these people. I said, no, well, so.
I know a girl I dated, actually it was a girl that I left in Cincinnati. Her mom worked for JCPenney her whole career. Her whole career was at JCPenney's.
So I was in charge of that, and I would also have to train people, and they would tell me, we need to come up with events and stuff like that. So, and I said, okay, and I started meeting people on the island that were local celebrities, and we would have these $1 million diamond sales and stuff, and we would bring these people in so that the customers can take, you know, pictures with them and sign, because we had one of those photographers that would print it out right there for
Sure.
you. And so then New York department stores calls me again. And they were bought by InvestCorp, which dealt with a lot of retailers and who would come in and take it and dissolve the company. So this gentleman by the name of Glenn Ireland gets on the phone and calls me. He says, is this Anita Rivera? He says, yes. And this is Glenn Ireland here. I'm calling you from New York department stores. I am the new head of the stores, and we're doing some great things, and I'd like to sit down and talk with you. I know you work now. I said, okay, here we go. So I says, what exactly are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for someone to reface these stores because eventually within 2 years they will be sold to another major retailer coming to the island. I can't tell you who the retailer is. I said, okay. Mind you, I was not in design anymore, but I was more in concepts. So I said, okay, I'm off tomorrow. How about if I stop by? And he says, I'll wait for you today if you can stop by after work.
You're not on a phone call?
I'm on the phone with this gentleman.
And he's supposedly in New York?
No, he had already made it to Puerto Rico. He was taking over the original
Oh,
stores I
okay,
worked
so he was
for.
in Puerto Rico, okay.
Yeah, he was in that mom and pop retail chains that I started working
Okay.
at, the New York department stores of Puerto Rico. So I said, oh, okay, so, I get out of here around 6, is that all right? He says, I'm here sometimes till 8, 9 o'clock, I just live down the street, I got a place that I rented there in Condado, and I'm like, okay. So I take off, and, I meet the gentleman, and he has all of my stuff from when I used to work for him.
Oh, he knew what he was
And my
doing.
sketches and stuff that I would do of how to relay the floor. And he says, did you know about laying stores? I mean, are you an architect? I said, well, I took drafting in high school, so I knew, you know, I had my ruler and I knew how to put things together and move things around. He says, so are you also doing visuals for Pennies? I said, yes, I have to approve all the visuals that are done for all our seasons and everything to make sure that we are the same in each
Sure,
store and
sure,
stuff.
sure.
He says, do you have a manual? I says, yeah, we have a manual. He says, okay. So we're just talking, and I leave. I left him I was always with my resume. I always carry with my resume.
Can I ask you what time it is, just real quick?
It's 10:57.
Okay.
And so,
What brought you to Lakeland?
and then Lakeland, I went back to New York
Oh, you
in
did?
96. And then in 2000, 2001, 9/11 hit. When I went back to New York, I went back to work for a company that was Pajama Company of America, and I designed all of their pajamas
No
for kids.
kidding.
And that crazy guy that got me the job at the other place.
Got you this one?
Yeah, he says, I want to introduce it to some people because I trust you.
So how did you end up in Lakeland?
Well, we were going back and forth during spring breaks and Christmas breaks and stuff to see where we really wanted to relocate to. We ended up in Claremont, and we saw a house there, a community that was being built, and we liked it and stuff. But after we left the down payment, I says, you know, we really want to see the house that we bought, not on paper. He said, well, we have a model home and office.
It hadn't been built yet?
Yeah. Everything was on paper. So he says, we have a model home and an office also off of Duff Road on the north side of Lakeland. I said, okay, so I told my husband, leave the deposit just in case, and then, so we take off, and I says, I have a friend that just moved to Tampa, let's go there, or let's just stop at Lakeland, and then we go to Tampa. So we get off in Lakeland, and, we go off to that, we see a sign that says $39 will get you a down payment. I was like,
Yeah.
so, interesting, but we kept on going, and we went to that location, and the thing was that the sales office was closed. They were only open certain days. What are we gonna do? So we drive out of the community, we drove in, and says, oh, it's nice and everything, drive out, and right there in the corner of Duff and Man, there was a sign that says, come visit us at Grand Pines. So I said, let's just keep on going.
Because they weren't open, you kept looking.
We kept looking, and we ended up in Grand Pines, and there was this gentleman, by Mr. McDonald. As we're going into the community, all of a sudden his garage door opens up. He's got a newspaper in his hand. He's sitting in a golf cart. He says, I was waiting for y'all. I said, uh-oh. So we ended up buying there, and we moved down. We landed in Florida, October of 2002. My son attended St. Anthony's Catholic School. My mom and dad bought in Foxwood,
And you started the chamber. Tell me more about the chamber and
Well,
what you do here.
When I started the chamber, it started because I started working for Yadro. Yadro is a Spanish company out of Spain, and they do all fine porcelain, very upscale items. And I was their director for their shops here, and my office was in International Plaza Mall. And I started meeting people in the community, and I met this woman who started her chamber in Sarasota. And she asked me, where are you from, et cetera, et cetera. I want you to meet some people out of Miami. They have a Puerto Rican chamber there. there's a Puerto Rican chamber in Orlando, and your area is beginning to move. A lot of people are moving to Central Florida. So I said, well, I can come and hear you guys out and stuff like that. I did belong to the Chamber of Commerce in San Juan when I lived in Puerto Rico, so I had an idea of what it was. And so,
What year was this?
This was in 2007.
Okay.
So May of 2007, I registered with, got my EIN, got my bank account, registered with Sunbiz, et cetera, got the bank account, and I started sending out press releases. I started getting calls from other organizations as to why do we need a Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce. And I said, look, we are to be inclusive. Anyone who does business as a Puerto Rican or does business with a Puerto Rican or sells or whatever, you need to be involved with the demographic. You need to understand the nuances of how we think and how we purchase and how we commit to anything.
Culture.
I said, so then that August of 2007, I was at that time working for Kaiser University. I was I left Yadro so I could be closer to the Lakeland and closer to the chamber stuff.
That wasn't Kaiser was over here at the Searstown.
Yeah, and then.
I remember that, yeah.
And then here, now they're in International Drive, and that's the campus where I was working out from.
Okay.
So, I said, I'm closer to the house, I can do all these different things, yada yada. So, the day that we launched was in August of 2007, and we didn't have an office. So we launched it at the Lakeland Public Library, and I had people coming from Brevard, the Spanish chamber over there, from Jacksonville. I had them from all over, and the Ledger wrote about it. It was,
Nice.
we were front and forward, and then people were asking, so how are you going to make yourself known? So we decided to bring the culture part in first. I'm about to sneeze, but I'm holding it.
That's okay.
So what we did was I introduced myself to the curator at that point of Polk Museum. It was a gentleman, he's no longer, he had retired, and with Miss Powell, who was, I'm sure she's still there. And I said, I'd like to bring the very first Puerto Rican Film Festival to town. And she says, really? I says, yes. I have connections in Puerto Rico that can help us with this. And they said, what kind of films? I says, well, it will be 3 films, and we'll offer them for free to the public. But we want to launch the event on Friday night, show the first film there, and then Saturday, and then Sunday. And all of a sudden, I get this magnificent woman from Puerto Rico. Her name was Belda Gonzalez de Modesti. She was an actress, both in theater and in movie from Puerto Rico, but she was also the ex-vice president of the Puerto Rican Senate.
Oh, wow.
So she was a dignitary. So at that time, it was, the mayor was Buddy Fletcher.
Yeah, I remember Buddy. I met him a couple times.
And I told him, this is what we're planning to do, and I would love for you to be there and present her with a proclamation. And he says, okay. So it took a couple of days, and then I get a call from his secretary, and she says, hold on, Mayor Buddy needs to speak to you. And he says, you're bringing me one heck of a powerhouse woman to this city. I know we do festivals and everything, but this is gonna be unbelievable. And I said, yeah. So next thing you know, we have the event. We got sponsored by Rums of Puerto Rico. They came from Puerto Rico to set up. At that time, it was Florida Dance Theater. They did a whole ballet presentation.
Oh, wow.
And then the first movie, and also we had Pilar Ortiz. She used to be with Telemundo or Univisión in Tampa, and she was our special guest and MC. And the theater was full of people. They ate food, they drank, they danced, and then they sat down to watch. The first movie was Gallo, meaning key, like a Key West or the Keys, with Jocelyn Sanchez, who used to be in one of those CSI type of shows or whatever. And then the second one was the movie of Berta Gonzalez, that she played the naughty maid. She used to get everybody in trouble and stuff, and it was of the era when Puerto Rico used to have their own cinema.
Oh, okay.
And then the last movie was Lo que le pasó a Santiago, which was the first international film out of Puerto Rico that was nominated for an Oscar.
No.
So we brought in culture, we brought in community.
What is the name of the chamber, the full name of the chamber?
Puerto Rican Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Polk County, and we changed that in 2011 because then we built a coalition of a whole bunch of Hispanic chambers in the area.
And what's the website address?
It is www.theprhccpc.com.
And you got Facebook pages and Instagram
Yeah,
pages.
yeah, that we're on TikTok and stuff like that. But we continue to do all this work, and we just did more and more networking. We used to do networking called Speed Cafe. We started first one at Black and Brew. So we were building
Sure.
our name and
Over
stuff
the years.
over the years, and then I think that what brought us to be noticed even more, even though we were getting lots of members and stuff like that, people who were happy that we were doing festivals, but more like block parties on Pine Street and stuff. We didn't want to take away from those who were doing
Sure.
the big festivals.
Organic growth.
We wanted slow but sure. And when 2017 hit, that's when Maria devastated Puerto Rico. I started making my calls to people, and I called Howard Wiggs at that time. I said, Mayor Wiggs, I need your help. I am collecting items for this and this and that. And he says, you need space? I says, yes, I need to know how much I have to pay or whatever. Can you connect me with people? And he says, yes, I'll give you a call. Don't worry about it. Just someone will give you a call. I says, okay. So I got all of our members to sign up, and we were putting out flyers that we had donation stations. Every member that signed up, on that flyer was their name and their address. And people were just dropping stuff off at Sahida's Beauty Salon, at Maria's.
Sure, everybody, the whole community was contributing.
So they were doing that, Polk State itself. Then I get a call from one of the Ruthvens, and they said, is this Anita Rivera? I said, the one and only. He says, I'd like to invite you to come in and let's sit down and talk. Howard gave me a call, la 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 la. So I go meet them here by Lake Morton, and the next thing you know is Joe takes me to the one on Reynolds Road, and he says, how much stuff do you expect? I said, well, we haven't started picking it up, but it's all of our members. Even some of the local chambers have also signed up to be
That's fantastic.
and they brought, and he says, then 5,000 square feet ain't gonna work. So he says, get in the truck. So he takes me to Night Station, and they gave me, I think it was a 20,000 square foot, and they gave it to us as a donation for 3 months. With everything that we collected, we sent to Puerto Rico over 180,000 pounds of food and water. Everyone in Orlando that knew me was asking me, how are you getting your goods without it being pilfered? I said, I have a friend who knows a friend, and my aunt.
It's all about networking.
So
It's all about networking.
we connected with Dory Rodriguez here with United City Churches, and there was a church in Dorado, and we were receiving all the trucks there, and every single pallet had a name of who it was to go to.
That's okay.
So, it's again, a lot of people say, oh, but you're not like the regular chambers, you don't do like,
Sure.
like these fancy golf things. I says, I don't play golf.
Do you want people to follow you more on the website or more on Facebook or social media? Unfortunately, we have to close this down.
Yeah, I think they should just visit the website, and if they're interested in information, they can always ask for information through there, and I'm normally the person that will contact them
Okay.
and stuff. But we're doing our summit November 12th at Bonnet Springs
November 12th, Bonnet Springs
at 6:30.
at 6:30.
No, 3:30, I'm sorry.
Oh, 3:30.
Yes.
And it's doing what?
We're gonna have our members there, it's like a retreat.
Okay.
But we also we also invite guests to come, set up, get to know each other and stuff like that. And then we'll have our Galleon Awards there of our members, that's the awards we give to the best of the best.
What was the, September 30th or something?
September 30th is our political Latin hobnob, it starts at 6:30 at Union Hall.
Okay, so if you are in Polk County, go to,
www.theprhccpc.com.
and be a part of the community. This is another opportunity to serve our community. Anna, thank you so much. I'm sorry we gotta cut it short,
That's okay.
but thank you for sharing everything with me.
And thank you for having me. I think that a lot of people need to know, where people like us decide to make this home, what we do for the community. It's not about the pocketbook.
That's right.
It's about this pocket
Giving
that
back.
covers
That's
this
right.
heart, so.
I agree 100%. Everything I've ever had or have was given to me. My heart is beating because it was given to me. So everything is given to everybody.
Mhm. And I think that people need to realize that even though we're in tough times right now, we are still one,
That's right. Amen.
so.
Well, thank you. I want to thank
Thank you.
Kovacs for letting me use this beautiful room. And
This is
we'll
my
have to do
first
this
time here.
again. What?